All right. What is going on, Vikings fans? I don't even have my lights on, but that's all right. We're gonna have to give it. It's gonna be a little bit of a darker stream. That's okay, guys. We are back at it with another live. Welcome back to the Purple and Gold Bar Show. I am your host, Supreme Overlord, aka Mr. AI Man 3000, aka Mr. Purple and Gold Bars. At your service. We're gonna jump right into it today, guys. I'll quickly let you guys know what we're talking about today. We're gonna recap all 13 or all the games from week 13, and we're gonna make a little bit of some observations and some small takes from the Minnesota Vikings versus Seattle Seahawks game. And sorry we don't got no portrait one. For some reason, Streamlabs is not allowing me to create both the vertical and portrait horizontal live today. So we're just going to go horizontal because I don't have a ton of time. I got some more clients and work to do this afternoon, so we got to get through this. Hopefully we won't go too crazy long because a lot's been said about this weekend, but let's gloat a little bit for some of these games and laugh and get as much joy out of this week that we can possibly get, guys. So before we do that, let's get right into it. Let's hit that intro. All right. Let's start with the Minnesota Vikings versus the Seattle Seahawks game. Now, a lot of people have been melting down and just being overly emotional and basically ridiculous on their delusional expectations, or due to their delusional expectations of this Minnesota Vikings team. Like, how can you simultaneously know that we're going to have a young rookie quarterback, developmental? It's like as if people forgot what developmental means. It means there's stuff that needs to be developed, i.e., he needs a lot of things to learn in order to get up to snuff. And knowing that, and simultaneously thinking we're Super Bowl bound, baby, we got what it takes, is some next level cognitive dissonance that I just can't even imagine. But when you don't know what you don't know, you end up looking like an idiot, and that's what the Dunning-Kruger effect is, and that's what we're seeing from all these channels. The biggest channel, or if biggest or one of the biggest channel in the Minnesota Vikings space, old Purple for the Win podcast, Andy over there, the guy that usually is pretty optimistic, is now one that's completely lost his mind and acting like a complete buffoon. Let's be real. Calling the team to fire everybody and tear it down all the way to the studs just because you thought you knew better. You thought that all of a sudden we were just going to come out here and JJ was going to look like year 10 of Tom Brady, his career, and we're just going to all of a sudden be the best team in the league without really looking at this realistic. That's what happens. That's why you got guys like Andy just melting down and just being complete buffoons. Guys from fucking Vikings chat now, like Patrick Seatman, the guy that yeah, he does melt down a little bit when he's when there's on the lives because he just can't control his emotions, and it's okay because sometimes when I'm watching games I can't control my emotions as well. But I always still refrain from being unrealistic, being ridiculous, and letting my emotions get the better of me. That's what stoicism is. That's what real men do, and that's what I see from little girls, when they don't get their way. So it's embarrassing to see such, big channels in the Vikings content creator space acting like complete morons. So we're gonna sit back and we're gonna actually take a look at this game and see what really matters, right? Because when we're in a developmental year, you're not supposed to have the same lens as a team that is polished and ready to make a Super Bowl run. So when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, yeah, it sucks. We definitely got embarrassed, I guess you could say. We showed that we are still in the depths of trying to figure things out, work through the problems and things, and sometimes it doesn't go the way that you want. No matter how much preparation, no matter how much coaching and everything, sometimes when the chips fall, it doesn't go the way that you want to. But you know what? What's important out of this week's game is we got two really big takeaways, good takeaways from this game. One, the defense is definitely one of the best in the league. The next thing that's important is that Sam Darnold proved that he is not and will never be the future of the Minnesota Vikings, which is why we moved on. Why the Vikings had the right decision, made the right decision in moving on from Sam Darnold. Like, how can you simultaneously say, "Oh, it was a mistake to oh my goodness, did I do it again? Or did I accidentally? Oh my goodness, let me see if I need to fix this tab here before we get going. But anyways, how can you say, oh, the Minnesota Vikings made a mistake moving on with Sam Darnold after watching what he did against the Rams, and not even in a game that really wasn't that big for him to melt down like he did with 4 interceptions? How can this guy that's supposed to be the future of our team go against a team that's in the midst of growing and developing and put up the freaking game that he did? Like, unbelievable. Like, it just proved to everybody that has a brain that Sam Darnold is not the answer and never was the answer, right? So hilarious to see. So the Vikings definitely did the right decision in moving on from Sam Darnold. Like, you're playing a team that has literally no real implications outside of it being an NFC team, so it helps your NFC standings for seeding and whatnot. And you completely melt down, throw 14 for 26, 128 yards, 53% completion rate, and a 67.47. He looked no different to me than a struggling J.J. McCarthy or a struggling Max Brosner out there. Well, minus the interceptions, of course, but we know when a team puts it on him, what he does. 4 interceptions against the Rams. So that's the guy that you wanted to show up for us in Minnesota this year, and then go into the playoffs or have him look like this, coming up with a passer rating that's pedestrian and reminding everybody what happened in Week 18 last year and in the playoffs. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. Grow some objectivity and realize what the heck is going on. But let's look at that. And the third, I guess we can have an honorable mention on third take. So one, the defense is definitely, and the defensive coordinator is one of the best in the league, and it's something to be extremely happy about. And that Sam Darnold is definitely never the future of this team. And if you wanted to have a future where we lost last year in embarrassing fashion, we lost this year in embarrassing fashion, and we lost next year in embarrassing fashion, then I don't know what you want outside of being a laughing stock in the playoffs, because we can definitely win team. Let's be real about that. But let's look at the games here. What did it do that again? Hold on a sec. I get it. Oh, my shortcut is on my Stream Deck is causing this to close. Let me see if I can fix this real quick here, guys. That way we can actually get the stats, because, man, Sam Darnold was embarrassing last night. If the Seahawks fan base isn't freaking losing their mind right now, let's look at Max Brosner. 19 for 30, 126 yards, 66.3 completion percentage. 4 interceptions is what definitely brought him from like a 67 passer rating to a 32.78, and warranted. It's an undrafted free agent rookie making his first start. What's your excuse, Sam Darnold? 67.47 passer rating, 53% completion rate. It's as if when good defenses, or the pressure of you having to elevate and look like the Vikings made the bad choice in moving on from you, and you crumble. That's the guy. Unbelievable. But outside of that, the third takeaway that we can get from the Minnesota Vikings versus Seattle Seahawks game is that we got valuable experience. Max Brosner, he sat all this season, never got any playing time in the regular season, and let's say the next year when JJ takes over again and has a much better season, never gets a chance to take the field. What happens in year 3 or 4 when Max has to go in and doesn't have any playoff or playing experience? This is what we would get. Something similar to this, maybe worse, right? Depending on where it is in the season. So it's good that he got to feel the NFL speed. It's good that he got to make some of these careless, boneheaded mistakes, because there was a lot of them, but he also made a couple nice passes. He also did a bunch of nice little things. Mind you, yeah, it wasn't like overwhelming. It's literally very, very small flashes and stuff, but, you know, he did put something out there to go, hey, you know what? If he gets the speed under control and gets comfortable back there and his decision making gets better and whatnot, he might be a really good, competent backup quarterback. And that is something to be really, really happy with. You know, the offense is looking the way it is because that's what happens when we're growing and developing. We've seen fans, oh, we were throwing the ball too much, we're not running the ball, and then we commit to running the ball and it comes completely as bad, if not worse. It's like it doesn't matter what your pre-thought notions or your armchair analysis means, because really what's actually going on is the active development process, okay? When you see somebody take on a new activity, a new pastime, whatever, building freaking like houses out of cards, making working with Lego, whatever it is, anything that you want to think, whenever you take something on, there's going to be this learning curve, and there's going to be some learning as you do it. And then there's going to be some, oh man, I built this the wrong way and I got to take it all down and restart it, whatever it is. Oh, I'm playing flag football for the first time and I've never played football at any level, and now you got to understand, well, what the heck is the quarterback saying in the huddle, and you have to come up with some sort of thing, and guess what? You get confused, and all of a sudden you run the wrong route, you do this, whatever it is. It's just what happens when the real life actual situation gets thrust upon you, regardless of your preparation. Sometimes the brain can't comprehend or doesn't work as you wanted to, as you practice to in the real life situation. So the Vikings offense, like I said before the season, this is going to be a struggle season. It's going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be flashes and a ton of growing pains. Nobody wanted to believe me. Everybody wanted to say, hey, we're just going to be going to the Super Bowl and J.J. McCarthy is going to look like Tom Brady in year 10. We're just because we have a great roster, great coaches, we're just gonna overcome everything, and it's just gonna go perfect. No mistakes, no growing pains. It's just gonna be sheer perfection and dominance, the start of a dynasty. Completely delusional, and now we're seeing what it actually looks like. People want to cry, let's draft a lottery pick quarterback and let's develop him, until you start developing. And then you have to go through the growing pains and the suffering of watching bad plays, bad decision-making, players looking flustered or overwhelmed with the speed of the NFL. The level of athlete in the NFL compared to college is jarring to most. It's like, oh my God, I've been going to the track every weekend and I've been racing my Toyota Corolla, and man, I'm putting some serious lap numbers together. And then you go out and you go to, I don't know, what's that speedway in Vegas where they let you race like a whole bunch of different cars, and then jumping into a supercar and then spinning out on the first turn. And you're like, oh, this is nothing like the Corolla that I've put thousands of hours in it. Of course not. It's not the same until you've actually been put into that situation. It doesn't register for people. And when you're on the couch and you watch the ton of football, you think you understand, but you don't. That's why you make these delusional comments, and which is why I made the live that I made last year. So settle down, pump the brakes, take your medicine, Vikings fans, relax. This is what progress and this is what the process and development looks like, okay? Like, there has never been a baby that the first steps they take and they're sprinting, they're freaking doing long jump, triple jump, high jumps, and looking like a professional Olympic athlete the first time they take their steps, okay? It's never happened, because there's a process to development. So there's a process to skill acquisition. And when things don't go the right way, there's a process of learning on the fly and then adapting and growing. And that's what this team is doing. And that's what this season I predicted was going to be. So relax, guys. We're on pace. for this development phase, because we can't skip the development phase, or else we end up looking like the Detroit Lions, who are sinking right now. That going into the season, they were convinced they were going to the Super Bowl yet again, when they have literally done nothing but make a more expensive roster and lose the pieces that made things actually click for them, right? So relax. This is the way it's supposed to go. Now, let's go back and look at the games, because let's take a nice little recap, and let's laugh a little bit here. I picked the Packers over the Lions because I just don't have any faith in this Lions team. As good as their offense is, their defense is definitely really, really bad when you look at it on paper and what they've been doing overall. And then when a team makes it a big game, as we saw against the Eagles, only 3 points was enough to make it a big game for Jared Goff and big game Goff to show up. Then the Packers do the same thing on Thanksgiving, really put it on them. And what does Jared Goff do? He goes ahead and gives you a whole bunch of really pretty numbers and comes up on a loss. Remember last year when everybody was saying it's a foregone conclusion, the Lions are winning the Super Bowl. We don't even have to play the playoffs. Are you kidding me? And then they get embarrassed by a rookie-led quarterback team in the Washington Commanders, a team an outlier, where you don't see that. And now look at how there's actually now going through their growing pains, because sometimes when you're growing, or when you're developing, or when you're taking on a new task, sometimes there's an outlier that every single time they're supposed to zig, they zig. Every single time they're supposed to zag, they zag. And it just seems like they luck or whatever it is on their side, and the really good things happen. But that doesn't mean that there's going to come a period where adversity is going to hit and the growing pains are going to come. It just gets delayed, because eventually you zag when you're supposed to zig, and then you have to overcome. And that's what the Washington Commanders are going through here. That doesn't mean that I don't think that Jaden Daniels isn't a great quarterback, or that he's a bust, or he was a fluke or one-year wonder. No, I just think that he got a lot of great, valuable experience from last year, and now he got a lot of adversity, and now he has to come up with a different game plan, and so do the Washington Commanders. Like I said, he needs to go to the Michael Jordan school and go into the gym, start eating like a bodybuilder, and start lifting weights, and become stronger than anybody that tries to take him down with just simple arm tackles or whatnot, so that he can just stand in the pocket and just be firm. Remember when Michael Jordan got beat up by the bad boy Pistons? After that, they said that whenever they try to push him off his spot, it was like like hitting a brick wall. He just became physically dominant because he was so strong, because he was lifting heavy weights, and he put on a bunch of total body strength, not mass, strength, because you can be an extremely strong person and not have muscles to back it up, because that's how strength works. I've trained bodybuilders, I've trained power lifters, male and female, and I've seen guys, the majority of the guys that are extremely strong, like big strong men, they're huge, right? Because they eat a lot, because they need a lot of energy for their specific training to be pushing levels like world record levels of strength. But for anybody, if you just focus on eating normally and not overeating to grow your muscles alongside with your strength, you can gain a lot of strength without having to put on a lot of mass. Look at Michael Jordan, right? And that's what Jaden Daniels needs to do, and he will be really, really good. So it's no secret that the Lions are definitely speed running their way back to a last place schedule. And man, if you guys wanted to laugh, Vikings Nation, if you want a good laugh, go watch Lions content creators. The same guys that at the beginning of the year were saying we're Super Bowl bound and all this are calling for everybody to get fired. They're calling that the season is over and having complete meltdowns right now. So maybe you guys can prop yourselves up with a little bit of hilariousness from the Lions organization right now. And the Chiefs, Cowboys, what a game. We've already talked about this, but let's talk about it. The Chiefs are definitely no longer the invincible force that they once were. They're definitely a beatable team, just like I predicted going into the season. That division is now wide open, and they're being exposed as the team that in those situations when it's most critical, even if they're struggling, they can still make the right decisions during situational football. This time around, they might make the right decisions, they might make the right play calls, but they're just not completing, and they're not being as effective as they once used to be. And so it's an interesting situation that the Chiefs are in, because they still have a ton of talent. They still have some of the best coaches in football and one of the best organizations in football. So we're going to see how the rest of the season progresses, and then if they can bring in some young guys, whether that's from free agency or through the draft, they can kind of fill in some of these positions that they're old stars that might be aging out and just can't perform at the level that they once used to. They can kind of draft their replacements and kind of regain some of that form. I don't know if during the rest of this Patrick Mahomes era, if they're going to be able to climb to the highs that they once were, that unstoppable force that we've seen in the past, where it was just like a foregone conclusion, where you could literally, it was a safe bet at the start of the season, be like, Chiefs are going to be making a deep playoff run, and there's literally nothing that can phase you in the entire season to make you think any differently. That era is definitely over. I don't know if they can regain to that. It's going to take some really good GMing. It's going to take some really good coaching to bring those guys up and developing and get them up to speed fast in order for them to maximize the second half of Patrick Mahomes' career. There's a lot of speculation with Jason Kelce or Travis Kelce maybe retiring soon, and so it's interesting to see what's going to happen in the future going forward. Can they draft another dynamic playmaker like they had when they had Tyreek Hill or with Travis Kelce? A lot has to be proven here in the offseason. Don't know if they have enough to make it to the playoffs now. They have to be next to perfect, and they have to have some people help them along the way. Bengals, Ravens, man. I picked the Ravens because I couldn't logically gamble against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry going up against the Bengals team. Even though Joe Burrow is that guy, I was just like, there just is too much possibility that Joe doesn't elevate to that level and he just becomes slightly above average, and we're not going to see that top tier Joe Burrow that we're accustomed to seeing until this week or the week after. But boy, did he prove everybody wrong. And Bengals Ravens was one of my upset picks that I was so close. And I even mentioned when I submitted my picks to the host that I really wanted to pick the Bengals here, but I just couldn't pick against Lamar. I'm a big Lamar fan. I know who he is, even though I do have my criticisms. I'm still in awe at what he is as an athlete and what he's been able to do, and outlast where most people believe that he would have flamed out by now. But so it's interesting to see the Bengals coming away with that one. Eagles, Bears, interesting. Usually the Eagles do a really good job defensively at keeping teams in check. And let me see how did Caleb Williams do? Okay, I'm just blanking right now. He went 17 for 36, 154 yards, 47.2 passer completion rates, 56.9 passer rating. Yeah, pretty much exactly what I predicted, how I predicted Caleb Williams to play. Very mediocre, because against good teams and against really good defenses, he struggles like this, right? I just thought that when it came down to the nitty-gritty, the Eagles would just kind of steal away a win like they've been doing week in and week out. But you know what? Big ups to the Chicago Bears. Let's see if they can hold on and follow through with the rest of the season. And when they start playing good teams and start getting into real playoff football, if they can avoid these type of stat lines from Caleb and the rest of the team. But big ups to you, Chicago. Next, what an upset game. Panthers, man. Bryce Young, a guy that was literally bullied by the league and fans alike. I've definitely taken my shots at him laughing, because it seems like what a crazy mistake. Labeled a bust. Mainstream media, everything wants to call him. But now, how many years is this? 3, 4, 40, whatever it is. And now he's coming out of his development stage, his growth stage, and he's starting to come away with career games and probably going to put down on paper his career best season to date, which is pretty impressive. A couple weeks back, he threw for over 400 yards and multiple touchdowns. So it's nice to see the kid that everybody wanted to bully and freaking bring him down and trash on him because of how funny. Like, I'm not going to deny that it wasn't funny the way that things were going for them. Like, objectively speaking, a team that, you know, had such high hopes, just struggling and breaking down and whatnot. So in that context, yeah, it was pretty funny. But in hindsight, now that our Vikings are going through something similar, it seems to be like, oh yeah. I've totally didn't even start to look at the Panthers the way that I have the lens for my Vikings team. So it's really good to see. Maybe you could say that Bryce Young's developmental stages with the Panthers were definitely heavily affected with the quarterback changes as well as the coordinator changes or coaching changes and quarterback coaching changes to that to their organizations, their play callers, all that stuff. But it seems like that may have extended the development phase, and now he's starting to emerge as a guy that he has taken his lumps. He has learned a ton from all the bad things that have happened in his early part of his career, and he's starting to roll with it. Great performance by the Panthers here, coming away with an upset win. I am not scared or concerned for the LA Rams because they're still one of the best teams in the league. I keep seeing headlines from YouTubers or headlines on the chyrons of like sports talk shows where like there's no good team in the NFL. It's like no, that's a gross mischaracterization. There are a ton of great teams, a ton of good teams, and some mediocre teams and some bad teams, of course. But to say that there are no good teams is a complete understatement. What actually is the truth is there are a whole bunch of good and great teams that are also flawed, that have gaping issues that they need to focus on in order to overcome later on in the season and postseason, and if they're going to make a playoff run. So Rams are no different. You know, they have an old school quarterback that from an era from like the 2000s into early to mid 2010s where it was more of a pure pocket passer, no needing of having mobility part of your skill set, and just having to make all the right decisions, being a field general, having every single throw in your arsenal. But just like back then, how you overcame quarterbacks like that is by applying the pressure, continuously sacking them, making it difficult for them to make their reads and make their decision making post and pre-snap and post-snap. And that's what the Panthers did. And what a great game by the Panthers. And big ups to them, you know. And it's kind of funny. I was thinking, it's like, oh man, imagine being on that podcast where they gave up the Panthers podcast where they freaking gave up on their team. I haven't checked back into it to see if they started their podcast up, but they basically shut down their podcast because the Panthers were so terrible after like 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. And now to have them in the hunt for the playoffs and potentially even sneaking in as a wild card team, man, that must feel embarrassing because this entire time they could have been rising the popularity, or, you know, riding the rise of the popularity and the trending team that they're totally missing out. So they accidentally just, you know, let go of a whole bunch of growth. But it's pretty funny here to see. So, and before I know, we'll take a quick break here. Let me remind you guys, I want to let you guys know, first and foremost, don't forget to like and subscribe because we are in the month of December. Anybody that is a subscriber as well as leaves a comment on any one of my lives or my videos in the month of December is going to be entered in a draw for a t-shirt giveaway. So we got a bunch of t-shirts we're going to be giving away. We have a secret design that's not going to be made known until the actual live draw that we're going to do in the first few days of the of January here. I'm going to have I'm not going to use a random number generator. I'm old school. I'm going to go ahead and buy one of those bingo rolling whatever it is, and I'm just going to put a whole bunch of names with or pieces of paper with channel or subscriber names on there, and we're going to start drawing them in real time. And I will make a post reminding everybody to like and subscribe in the month of December. That way we can you can be entered into that draw. We're looking to give anywhere between maybe 10 to 20 t-shirts, still undecided depending on the local print shop that I have. They are actually ramping up. I did go back last week to find out if we were still good. So for making the next all the giveaway shirts, and their suppliers was running a little low on t-shirts, so we're going to get as many as we can that will allow. I might even have to, I asked them if I go out and buy a bunch of t-shirts and bring them in, would you print them on there? And they said okay, so potentially, so hopefully we can get that all taken care of, and we'll get a whole bunch of t-shirts out to subscribers and anybody that leaves a comment. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on every video that you have. I'm going to put the rules down. I'm thinking what I'm going to do is for every time that you leave a comment that you're subscribed, you're going to be entered. You're going to get another ballot, I guess you could call, entered in it, up to a maximum of 10. So that way everybody, so I don't want anybody to just be like, who's just the most dedicated, be able to get in here filled with like 300 different freaking extra ballots. So everybody's going to have a maxed 10 different entry ballots to draw upon. So so that way, if you want to just comment once and shoot for your luck that way, then big ups to you. If you want to do it multiple times and just support the channel as it grows, then do so, and you're going to get maximum 10 ballots into the draw. So let's move on. We got the 49ers versus the Browns. Good gravy, guys. Now, it wasn't like people expected Shedeur Sanders' second game in the league. We got 16 for 25, 149 yards, 64% completion rate, an average of 93.6. He didn't do terrible. He had 3 sacks. It is what it is. When you're playing a team that's built through winning through adversity, it's just what happens, okay? And I was pretty happy with what I saw from Shedeur. I think it's nice to see him putting out this tape, because I think that this is what's going to get him moved to a franchise that's actually going to give him a chance. Like I've been saying since for the last couple of weeks, that I just don't believe that Shedeur is going to get a totally good, an actual legitimate shot at proving to the world whether he is a bust, a backup, an average starter, or a franchise quarterback, or even elite, unless he gets onto a team that is willing to give him 1 to 2 seasons to really show what he's made of. But it's nice to see that he did try to get it done. You know, that just wasn't in the cards for them. The 49ers are an extremely good team, regardless that they are in the midst of the craziest war of attrition that we've seen in modern football here. They're losing Hall of Famers. They're losing key defensive contributors. They're losing a little bit of everybody. They lose their quarterbacks for a couple weeks, and Mac Jones is able to come in here and resurrect his career. And now he's in line for getting a pretty decent contract next season. So I definitely said that the 49ers are going to win here. And again, they just are so good at facing adversity and overcoming that it doesn't matter really who they face. They are always going to stay in it, and they're always going to have a shot to win it. So big ups to the 49ers, and Brock Purdy doing good since he came back. Texans and Colts. Now, this is an upset that I definitely picked, because I've been saying, hey, Colts look really nice, and I've been keeping them at that 5 spot on the power rankings, because it's like, I just don't know about this team. Yes, they have looked great at times. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league. And at times you're like, whoa, this team might be unstoppable. And their defense is growing into something special, right? But at the end of the day, you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback. You know, Sam Darnold is looking this good because he had a whole year under KOC, and having his whole perspective changed, which is why he does so well. He just needs to focus on what's in between his ears. Because when the game is, there's a lot of pressure. Either we saw this week where it's just self-imposed pressure because he wants to prove the Vikings organization wrong for moving on from him. he collapses, he crumbles, he comes up with pedestrian numbers, really, really bad numbers, looking like J.J. McCarthy and Max Brosmer numbers for a team that's supposed to be one of the best teams in the league. Against the Rams, he looked incredibly bad, right? And now we're looking at Daniel Jones, who had he had 1 or 2 weeks in the quarterback room, enough to change his perspective, but not enough to really rewire the way that he thinks. And now he's starting to fall back into old ways, And what an upset. The Texans have arrived. They've gone and dethroned the Colts in the AFC South, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see if, another flawed team in the Texans. They are rolling right now, but let's see if CJ Stroud has kind of emerged out of this sophomore slump, because he's a prime example, along with Jaden. Well, he's more of a prime example of development, right? Sometimes when you come into the league and you just zig when you're supposed to zig and you zag when you're supposed to zag, and you have an incredible rookie campaign. And to the point where people were calling the team the Strouds. And, there was all this lore on Tom Grossi's scripted if the NFL was scripted videos, right, where it was just kind of like this aura of like, wow, this guy's one of the greatest quarterbacks already after 1 year. And then to fall so far from that place to where he was making mistakes that like rookies or backups make, staring down receivers, not looking off safeties, all these little things that he was actively doing in year one just fell out the window. When the game tape comes up or when adversity hits, sometimes you zag when you're supposed to zig. And CJ Stroud is a prime example that development isn't linear. And now we're starting to see some good things from him. Maybe he's kind of started to piece some things, that metaphorical jigsaw puzzle that he's working on in his brain is starting to become clearer, and he's starting to get past this stage, and he's starting to get more growth instead of growing pains now, where there was a bunch of growing pains. And hopefully, because I don't want for any of these young guys to fail, I just want them to have every opportunity to prove themselves, because I know how hard it is for them to dedicate their entire lives and then to make it to the league. So I want to see him do well, and so hopefully he can continue to fight adversity and do well for the rest of the season. So big ups to the Texans, and what an upset win there. Dolphins, Saints, a bit of two middling teams that have a lot of flaws and struggling in so many different areas. Tyler Show or Shut. Man, I don't even know how to pronounce, because my French or my Canadian and my just knowing like having French Canadians, and the way that I read his name, I'm like, Show. That's how I want to say it. But then I hear the announcers calling him Shuck. I have no idea how you pronounce his name, but Tyler Show, whatever your name is, it's okay, buddy. You got to keep in the fire. Keep getting forged. You're going to learn from your mistakes, and hopefully next year, when you get a full season and a full off season preparing, being the number one guy, hopefully you can transition that and turn into a really productive career. I really want the best out of for you as well. Dolphins, they're just in a little bit of a different place. They're definitely underachieving, a team that goes from scoring 70 a couple of years back to now struggling to put up points on even some of the more teams that are struggling in other ways as well. But you know what? It is what it is. They are amidst of a retooling, not really a rebuild, a reassessment. I don't know what you want to call it, but there's going to be some hard questions that they're going to have to face going into this season, this off season, and I'm excited to see what they do in the draft as well as in free agent acquisitions, to see how they can address this and see if they can actually recover from this down year. So big ups to the Dolphins for coming away with a hard-fought battle. When you looked at the game, it was actually a pretty fun matchup, even though there was a little bit of everything in there, dysfunction, highlights, everything. Great game to watch. Falcons, Jets, what a finish here. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not see that coming. I thought that although the Jets were going to come away with a hard-fought game, I didn't think they were going to win. I thought that Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson were going to just be too much for this Jets defense, especially with, all the players that they've traded away. So it's pretty cool to see. And like I've been saying, hey, I can start to see, a couple pieces of the jigsaw jigsaw puzzle coming together, right? I feel like Aaron Glenn was the right choice for the Jets. There have been moments, there's only been moments. It's not like we've seen a full game. Like, I guess now we've seen a full game of what the potential of this team can be with the philosophy and the game plan and the team that Aaron Glenn is trying to create there in New York. But before that, all I could see is flashes here, a little bit of a glimpse here and a little bit of a glimpse there. But when there'd be like a drive or two, maybe a quarter, where you're like, whoa, this is not the same old Jets team. And it's really cool to see for them to come away with a nice little victory, coming away with a nice little scoring drive to win the game there. Excellent game, a hard-fought game from both teams. The Falcons are on a roller coaster, just like my team is. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, if you will, as well as the Jets, a little bit of a roller coaster as well. They're in that really early stages of organizational structure, culture change, whatever you want to throw in there, but it looks good. I feel like Aaron Glenn was the right decision, and I'm excited to see what this team turns into over the next 2 or 3 years, because they have been amassing a ton of draft capital. This next year, and especially the year after, is going to be stocked with a lot of really, really good players. And if they hit home runs with all their top draft picks, and then they do really good with all their other draft picks to trade up or just hit on guys and not reach, and just find key contributors, glue guys, this team could definitely be a good team in 2-3 years, and might be a team that people are going to be like, can you guys believe that this team was the laughingstock of the league for like a decade plus a couple years ago? Unbelievable. But good job, Aaron Glenn. I really admire what you're doing over there. Big ups to you. The Buccaneers and the Cardinals were another good game that we got to see. That was a little bit closer than a lot of people expected. I think a lot of people expected that the Buccaneers were going to go ahead and blow out the Cardinals. I thought, if I remember correctly, I think I said a 7-point game. Maybe a 10. Nothing more than that, if I remember correctly, because I know that the Cardinals play a whole lot harder, and they have a lot more belief in them with Jacoby Brissett over Kyler Murray. So it's a clear indication, and I think the Kyler Murray experience is definitely going to be over in this offseason here. I feel like they're going to move on from him. They're going to trade him or do whatever they can to get him off the team, and look to ride the wave with Jacoby Brissett and try to either trade up, get a whole bunch of assets for the following year so they can draft their quarterback of the future. And hopefully this time they don't make panic their identity or their culture, because that's what they did when they moved off from Josh Rosen. They panicked. They picked up Kyler Murray because they're like, oh, he could potentially be the next Russell Wilson. Look, I mean, he's small like Russell. He's got a cannon like Russell. He can scramble like Russell. Hey, let's pick this guy up and go with it. And, we'll just dump everything on him. Get him some top tier receivers. Get him a pretty decent defense, and it's going to fix itself. And that's what happens when you turn impatience and panic into your organization's identity, and that's why they've suffered the last few years. And that's exactly what I don't want our Minnesota Vikings to do. We need to, like I say, hold your frickin' balls, Minnesota Vikings organization, and stay on course, because we are. Development is supposed to look like the way it has. Ask the Panthers, ask the Buccaneers, ask a bunch of teams that are coming out of nowhere right now that weren't expected. New England, hey, look at that. But yes, Buccaneers in a great game there. Jaguars put a beat down to the Titans. Definitely what I predicted would happen. I thought the Titans would put a little bit more. I think I put them at like 9 or 12 points, just a bunch of field goals. I really want freaking Cam Ward to succeed, man. I really like the guy. I don't know. I like his story. I like the way that he throws the ball. I just see that there's a lot of quarterback coaching and development that he needs to do. Sometimes his footwork is really nice and he scrambles properly, and his pocket presence is great. And sometimes it feels like all that I just said is non-existent, right? But It is what it is when you have a rookie quarterback making his NFL debut, his first year starting. But I think next year, if they do a good job of hiring the right coach and bringing in the right culture with the right quarterbacking system for him, I think he can definitely become something special. That's why I'm really rooting for the Titans. I do love an underdog story, so I really want to see them, which is why I like the Jaguars and how well they're performing this season. You know, Liam Cohen has come in here and brought the Mike Shanahan system of football, and it's working at times, and sometimes it looks rough. You know, sometimes, you know, it's year one, right? So sometimes these players that have been there for a long time, they're reverting on muscle memory and past experience, and they kind of do things the old way, and they kind of screws things up, put a monkey wrenches in there. But when everything goes right, and they stay to the game plan, they look like a pretty decent team. So big ups to Mr. Liam Cohen, Trevor Lawrence. I can't wait to see what Travis Hunter becomes, man. Oh my goodness, that's gonna be something special. I mean, oh man, I hope they take the right approach with him. I think they should be focusing on him just playing defensively, developing him to being a complete shutdown corner, and making it so that aspect of his game is completely on lock and second nature, and then start sprinkling him in on offense and developing him to be maybe not a gadget player, but a legitimate offensive threat, offensive playmaker, right? Because when you are that good of a defensive player, for specifically as a corner, you know what the opposing cornerback wants to do from you, from a theory standpoint and from an experience standpoint. So being able to have a different level of creativity. A few years back, maybe more than a few years back, I kept criticizing women's MMA because to me it was like rock and sock'em robots, right? It's just they both stand in there and they're just throwing combinations after combinations with no real creativity, no real paying attention to what the other person is doing, identifying weak spots and adapting and just figuring out on the fly. The women's fighters just didn't do that, but they didn't need to, right? The competition levels, everybody else was doing the same thing. So that's why there were some fighters that had an extremely dominant certain skill set were able to run through female competitors because they just didn't have that ability to do that, right? So they can play, like they can see what you're going to do before you do it and then capitalize on that. And that's, I think, what Travis Hunter can eventually do, become that modern day two-way player and maybe even be better than Deion Sanders was because of how dynamic and an athlete that he is. So it'd be amazing to see him on offense being able to break ankles, maybe even revolutionize the wide receiver spot, because as soon as somebody puts tape on tape on film and you say, whoa, I never thought about running a route that way. I never thought about playing mind games with my with the opposing cornerback or safety or linebacker, whoever's in coverage against me, to make them think I'm doing one thing and do the other or whatever, because he's going to have that insight that no other receiver has, because I hope he developed, like if they focus on his defensive development, I feel like that's going to be a heck of a freaking fun season when we start seeing that emerge. And after that, I think it's going to revolutionize the position when people start thinking, wow, there's a lot more that we've left on the table because we don't think like a cornerback trying to play receiver. We're just receivers playing against cornerbacks and going off of sheer athletic talent, intuition, and now they got to kind of adapt in whatever he brings in. We've already talked about the Seahawks and the Vikings. Raiders, Chargers, the Chargers are going to be a little bit up and down. Like we've said, they've got their backup left tackle that they brought in for Joe Alt. He's going to have some really good games. He's going to have some bad games. He's going to have some mediocre games against the Raiders, a team that's struggling. They let go of Chip Kelly, and they're trying to, kind of get through the suck, get through this adversity and get to the next season. Because I think I know they have a crap ton of talent on that team. They just need more guidance. They need some more structure. And the more they get into that, the better this team will look. So I'm hoping that in the next couple of years, we're going to start seeing an emergence of these Raiders once because Brock Bowers is a freaking beast, guys. Max Crosby is a beast. I know he's starting to get a little bit older there, but he still has enough game in him, in his tank for the next few years as the Raiders start hopefully starting to put things together. But big ups to the Chargers in that win. The Bills versus the Steelers. Man, I did pick the Bills here on this one. I thought it was going to be a closer game than it was. But then Aaron Rodgers coming out of the game at times, and then I don't think he finished the game if I remember correctly. But the Steelers are definitely a little bit dysfunctional, and I've seen a lot of commentary and tweets talking about it's time to fire Mike Tomlin and all these things and blow it up and whatnot. And it's, it is what it is. I don't think they should move on from Mike Tomlin because I think he's that good of a coach. And if anybody can adapt, it's going to be him. He's been doing it year after year since he became the head coach there. And I think he just has to get the courage to just commit to a full rebuild. Just do it, brother. Get rid of this old freaking secondary. Get rid of all these old overplaced players. Allow your team to go through the struggle. Allow your team to go through development and draft some young players to fit your next freaking vision for this football team. You've definitely been really good at what you've done for this entire time. And now the league is about to evolve, and you need to evolve too, Mike Tomlin. So if anybody can do it, I think it's you. So take this off season, get comfortable with it, and embrace a full rebuild, and start looking at building that defense with a bunch of young guys. Make it a young, hustle first, very, textbook style defense, like what the Broncos are doing, and just find your freaking diamonds in the rough. Develop that young defense first, and then start bringing in some players to complement your nice tight end and DK Metcalf, which still has a lot to play, and try to draft your future franchise quarterback in the next couple of years, and enjoy this rebuild process because it's going to teach you things that's going to help you evolve as well, Mike Tomlin. So I'm really rooting for the Steelers, even though they are struggling this season, but I'm rooting for them to make the right choices and move forward with their team. Ooh, the Broncos. What a Sunday night matchup. Coming away with a steal of a win there. Commanders so close. Marcus Mariota. Some people would have said, why didn't you just kick the field goal and see what you could do? Neither one of your teams really, until the last couple drives there, could come up with a 3-and-out. So just freaking try to come up with a stop and try to be the team that scores last and whatnot. But you know what? I'm all for it. Nick Bonito with an incredible play at the end, coming loose on that halfback screen there. If Marcus Mariota gets that ball up and over to him and to the back, I think that was almost a guaranteed walk-in touchdown there. So it would have been a heck of an upset. But you know what? It just goes to show that there is a lot of belief on this Commanders team. A lot of confidence and willingness to continue to fight regardless of the situation. They were able to acquire after last year's performance, where a lot of teams, a lot of pundits and a lot of people were saying, man, this team is a mess everywhere. They don't have any really good defenders. They don't really got it. This freaking they traded for the guy that tore his ACL this year. Pretty decent corner, but he's Marshawn Lattimore. And even though he's on his decline, he's still a pretty good defender, right? A good leader in the locker room. But even with all these injuries that they're dealing with, they're still able to be competitive with teams, which should scare a lot of people. Ladies and gentlemen, let's be real. Just because they're 3-9 doesn't mean they're a bad team. I just think that they've faced a ton of adversity and they just haven't been able to overcome. And that's a skill set that the 49ers took years to get to, right? This year is when we're starting to see the fruits of those labors. When in the past years, every single time they faced adversity and loss and this and that, everybody wanted to pile on them and be like, this is what you're going to get. You're going to have to pay Brock Purdy all this money, and you guys are going to be basically irrelevant soon because you guys are going to have an overpaid roster, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. You need your legends. What happens when oh my goodness, your legendary freaking linebacker, Hall of Famer, I'm totally blanking, but you know what I'm talking about. What happens when all these guys leave the team? You guys are going to be nothing. Hey, he doesn't want, you know what? It does. They've learned so much they are going to be okay. They're going to make do. They know how to overcome, and they know how to game plan for these situations. And they are definitely forged in fire, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how deep this playoff run is going to be, because playoff football is different. But if anybody has an opportunity to overcome these injuries and in the war of attrition that they're going through, it's this team, because they have proven it year in and year out that they continue to fight, and they're still a really, really damn good team. So interesting to see what's going on. And Patriots over Giants. The Giants have been my team that I've been using to kind of get some potential upsets in. They did me really well against the Chargers early in the season, against the Eagles in game 1. But ever since they lost their Scatabo, their running back, a lot has kind of deflated them, because even with Cam Scatabo, even if it's just a 2-yard run, a 3-yard run, a 4-yard run, the way that he runs, look at that sideline. Go back and watch that sideline. When he trucks one guy and gets 3 yards, everybody jumps up and down, goes crazy on that sideline. It amps them up. It gives them more energy. That's how they're able to fight a little bit harder than you would expect them to do, which is why they're able to stay close into the games. And ever since he's gone, they're just missing that extra energy boost that he gave them, and now they're starting to look more like the team that a lot of people were thinking they were going to be. Patriots, a solid team. Hey, I said this team, the Patriots were going to be one of the teams that shocked the world or turned some heads this year. I wasn't sure which way. Along with the Giants, those are my 2 teams that were going to be my shock teams, and Giants definitely put some shocking wins up on the board and gave us a lot of fun moments this year. But the Patriots, man, Mike Vrabel, I called it coach of the year. I think he's going to get it, man. He's definitely the front runner right now. But an incredible win. Drake May and the Patriots were not phased, and they were able to put belt to ass, putting up 33 points. What a phenomenal game. There are moments where it wasn't as pretty as people would want, but that's the way football goes. And what an incredible, incredible week of football. I'm excited for every single week. I'm excited to see how my team continues to develop. I'm excited to see how the Giants continue to move forward, how the Commanders continue to move forward, how the Broncos are going to keep going. Like I've been saying, hey, I love the Broncos storyline. I did call their defense to be one of the top 2 defenses before the season started, and they're definitely there right now. If there might be the best defense in the league, I have no idea, but they are phenomenal right now. But like I've been saying, I don't know if this is the winning formula for playoff football and to win the Super Bowl. To be relying on late game antics and close wins like that usually bites you in their butt. But when you have a defense like this, we saw what the Ravens did back in 2000. It might be just another version of that season playing out here in Denver. And if that happens, wow, will that be a heck of a Super Bowl champion if we see that happening. I'm excited to see what the Steelers do the rest of the season, see how they adjust with all their old guys and injuries and adversity that they're facing. Do they just crumble, or do they try to rise to the occasion and try to prove that they still got a lot left to give? The Bills, man, I'm excited to see what happens here. As dominant, as prolific of an offense that they've had in the last couple of years, we have seen some major flaws. Like I said, people have been saying, oh, there's no good team in football or no great team. No, that's a lie. There are great teams. There are good teams. They're just extremely flawed this year, and the Bills are one of those teams, so I'm excited to see what happens. I'm excited to see how the Chargers finish off the season without Joe Alt, now that we're starting to get into end-of-season meaningful football. If they're able to freaking overcome, I want to see the Raiders as well start looking more competent, start looking like they're making less and less mistakes, and start looking like the talent that they have on that roster is worth banking on and gambling on for this organization over the next couple of years so they continue to grow. I'm excited to see, like I said, our Vikings, how we progress and continue to develop and learn from everything that's happened this season. Even though it didn't go, we weren't even able to go ahead with the game plan that we had built going into the season. I'm excited to see how Sam Darnold does this season. Like I've been telling you guys, I don't think Sam Darnold is a bad regular season quarterback. I just know that in the playoffs, he's not going to do what people think he's going to do. Now, like I said, I don't think Sam Darnold is going to completely collapse at the end of the year or in the playoffs like he did last year. I think he's just going to be mediocre. And he's going to have to win games like he won against the Vikings and won against, what's the other team that just gave him a hard run for it? But he's going to have to, the team is going to have to bail him out. And he's going to have to play better. Like he just can't collapse. He can't be fumbling the ball. He can't be throwing multiple interceptions. He's just got to be a little bit more consistent and just mediocre. And if he can do that, that means it's a step in the right direction in his growth for postseason play, because that's what really matters. And I sure as hell did not want to see him and endure the next 2 or 3 years of him trying to figure it out in the playoffs and having embarrassing loss after embarrassing loss. So I am happy that he's going through that learning curve on another team. Excited for the Titans to see what happens in the offseason, of course, how they're able to turn things around. The Jaguars, hey, might be a photo finish here for them. Buccaneers, man, have they been punched in the mouth the middle part of the season, but they're starting to get healthy. Baker Mayfield is a guy that can definitely put the cape on, even though he hasn't been able to complete these comebacks, but you know, it's a lot of fun. Excited to see what happens with the Colts. Are they can they continue to melt down here and they're going to flame out, be like the Eagles were in 2023 and just kind of completely prove everybody, all the haters right? Don't know. 49ers, man, can they make a really decent playoff run, fighting through attrition, fighting through adversity? If any team can do it, I think it's them. What an awesome season for the Panthers. What an awesome resurgence for Bryce Young. Hey, development is not linear. Look at the Carolina Panthers. It's been a struggle for the first few years of Bryce Young, but you know what? They never gave up on their young rookie. They knew that they needed to work on him and that he had the ceiling to become something great. And how great is still yet to be determined, but he's starting to now make gains on the belief that organization had. Not worried about the Rams. Matthew Stafford is a pro. He's having his best career of his season. It's just one of those games where the team just ends up doing just enough to beat you any given Sunday. Eagles, Bears, man, both two teams kind of in a similar situation. We'll see how the season plays out. Flawed in different ways. One team has had it coming in with a last place schedule, so they maybe a little bit inflated. Now we're going to see what they do with adversity coming up in the next few games and in the postseason. Same with the Eagles, right? We have to see how they face adversity for the rest of the season and how they can do in the playoffs. Ravens, man, I really wanted to see Lamar Jackson pull it out the fire, but it does not look good for them. I think they have to be perfect the rest of the way, and it's probably not going to be the case. But we'll see how this turns out for the Ravens. It's going to be a photo finish, so keep tracking. Man, isn't it nice to have Joe Burrow back out there slanging the rock? Man, as aggravating as it is to have Joe Burrow always in shotgun, man, unbelievable. I'd like to ask questions for the offensive coordinator and play caller for the Bengals, just to understand what the theory, what their philosophy is, because they are before the season, I believe it was like they were in shotgun 85% of their plays, which is an insane number. We rarely see him under center. We rarely see him in the pistol, but it works for them. And I'd love to pick his brain to be like, what is going on here? What is it what's your vision? Because that's, if I can understand that, maybe I can start making sense of what's going on. Or maybe it's just a thing of, we just know that if we stay in shotgun and we give Joe Burrow enough time, he's that good that he's going to make a play. And that's basically the secret. I don't know what it is, but it's fun to watch, and I'm happy to have him back. Cowboys, ooh, the dumpster fire that keeps on giving. But like Stephen A. says, just settle down. Hold on a minute. Just wait. They will end up, doing what they always do and falling apart when it counts. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens for the rest of the season. The Chiefs, oh man, it kind of sucks. But I think it kind of sucks more if you're a Chiefs fan or someone that was sympathetic or maybe had them as your second team or whatnot, just kind of being like, hey man, I have respect for the modern day dynasty and whatnot. I know a lot of people dislike the Chiefs, including the host from the Real to Sports podcast. Don't forget to check us out there on Saturday. We're back this Saturday on the Real to Sports Network to get back on track. But and I get it, because I had the same sentiment of the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. Like, it's not like that was a total hatred for them. They just irked me because they were so good, and I hated that they were so good. And then it got to the point where they just earned my respect, and then they kept winning Super Bowls, and then Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay and wins the Super Bowl there. And then he just completely earned my respect and my honor, and I'm like, the greatest quarterback to ever live, one of the greatest dynasties to ever be put together on paper. Nobody's ever going to do it like they did. Nobody's ever going to do it like the Chiefs did. Nobody's ever going to do it like previous dynasties have done it in the past. Everybody is unique in the way that they create their dynasty, so it's cool to see. Is there a dynasty in the future? I don't know. We'll see how it is. Maybe the Patriots are coming back to form, and then again a nice little laugh to see the Lions. You know, man, that prediction, that bold prediction going into the season, saying that I think it would be that the Lions would be lucky to win 10 games this year. You know, I'm gonna admit, I was like, oh man, I don't think I'm gonna even be able to bring up that bold prediction. And I really hope nobody brings that up because it's not looking real good right now. But you know what? When you know, you know. And I was spot on with this Lions team because they are such a confusing team. They're a team that metaphorically, they build on swampland when like 500 feet to the right, they have hard, solid ground to build a foundation on. And they never let their foundation set. They just want to run before they learn how to walk or crawl. And then they just collapse all the way back to a last place schedule for decades sometime at a time. Packers, flawed team. Excited to see what's going on here. You know, maybe Jordan Love might be starting to change my opinion of him, but I still can't get over the fact that he throws interceptions like a rookie or like a career backup. It's very, very jarring to me. And I think I've kind of come to the realization that I think that it might just be part of who he is. And he's always going to do that regardless if he finishes with a legendary career, Hall of Fame career, whatever it is. That's just going to be how he does it, just like Brett Favre was. The interception was just kind of the poison, the devil that you have to live with in order for the angel that you're going to have to survive with and overcome with when it does come, right? So interesting to see. We'll see how the Packers finish out the season, but you know what? It's been a fantastic season. If you've just been a fan of football, it has been a great season for y'all. So let's keep this freaking roller coaster going. Let's continue to see these upsets. Let's continue to see these young teams grow and go through the fire and struggle or overcome. And let's see how this season ends up, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the live today. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe to enter into the t-shirt giveaway. Anybody that drops a comment on any one of my lives or videos will be entered into a draw, up to 10 entries for you. And so as long as you're subscribed and you leave a comment on a live or an upload, anything like that, we'll get you entered. And in the first week of January, we're going to do the old-fashioned way. We're going to have a nice little bingo roll or whatever the hell you call those things. And we're going to manually write down all these numbers because I'm old school. And I don't want to use a number generator because I just don't know how that goes. I'd rather just spin or put things in a hat and shake them up and do it the old-fashioned way because that's what works for me, guys. I really appreciate you guys. Don't forget to be nice to your friends, your neighbors, and keep that head up, guys. It's just football. I love every single one of you guys. Have a great one. Take care. Yo, what's going on, Chris? Oh man, Ryan, Big, whole bunch of people. What is going on, guys? Thanks for joining me.